questioned some of the times. They said we ran 229 miles an hour, and we hadn't run over 200 but about 3 times. But then I found out that their clocks were a little bit happy there at US 30. Yeah. But I'll never forget it. Roland and the Chi-Town Hustler were running, and I walked over and talked to Roland, and I hadn't got a chance to talk to him, and he was just kind of standing there. And I said, hey, I want to thank you for that deal up in Salt Lake. I said, it got us a deal over in Denver. He said, yeah, I heard you beat the snake. He said, I'm proud of you. He said, and you did real good here. I was happy with you guys. He said, you got a home here. And I said, well, you know, whatever. So I said, how you doing? He said, oh, hell. He said, I got a cracked crankshaft. He said, it's a big one, too. And I said, well, you got spare motors? He said, yeah, but I ain't changed no motor. He said, what we're going to do, he said, we're going to go up there, and if they screw up in red light, fine. But when the light turns green, he's going to pull it out there and stick it in neutral and say we got the transmission. So I said, well, okay. I said, where are you going next? He said, I'm going to Spartanburg, South Carolina. He said, you're going down there too. I said, well, I didn't know that. He said, yeah. He said, when you go get your money, I'll tell you all about it. And Jeff Tyree, he was there, Andy's brother-in-law. So I walked up in the stands. They were going to run 4 jets side by side, and I wanted to see that because I'd never seen nothing like that before. I thought that was a little bit crazy, but right before they ran the 4 jets, the Chi-Town Hustler and Roland come up, and me and Andy sitting there, and these nothing but black people there. I mean, it was full of black people. One guy comes up, he said, I got 5 big ones on the Chi-Town Hustler. I mean, on the Hawaiian. Well, I knew the Hawaiian wasn't going to run no race. I said, Andy said, what are you thinking? And I'm looking around. I said, well, we know what's going to happen. He said, hey, don't mess with them people, Gene. I said, no, come on. We got a chance to make some money here. And we stood up. I stood up, and I said, what does 5 big ones mean? He said, 5,000. I said, well, I'll tell you what, old buddy, I'll take 3 of it. I'll take the Hustler. And he walks down there, and he sizes me up, and he was I was standing on a step higher than him, and he was looking me right straight in the eye. This was a big boy. And he counts out 3,000. I counted out 3,000. He said, now, you know how this works. And I said, what's that? And he said, red lights don't count. Well, that made me happy. If a guy pulled up there and red lighted, if he got to the other end, he won the race as far as the bet was concerned. Because I knew the only way Roland could lose is if Minnick red lighted. I mean, the only way that the Hustler could lose is if Pat Minnick red lighted, and he couldn't lose now. So, and I knew what was going to happen. And Andy, about that time, this guy, I feel something in my back. And I turn around, there's this guy's got a 45 automatic pointing right at me. And I said, hey man, what's this? He said, it's just to see you don't, because the guy had given me the money to hold. He said, that's just to see you don't turn rabbit, big boy. I said, you ain't got no problem with that. I said, let me ask you a question. You going to get upset if you lose? He said, no, not at all. I said, so that made me a little bit happier. Well, they did exactly what they said they was going to do. And the Hustler made a heck of a pass. He'd have been hard-pressed to beat him. He said, it's your money. And so we walked away from there with $3,800. I mean, we're rich, you know. And they asked me, they said, we come back Wednesday night and give us a chance to get our money back. I said, you bet. I didn't intend to get back in them stands next Wednesday night. But we had to be in Spartanburg to race Saturday. We went down there, and that's when I saw what them drag races were like. I saw Richard Tharp. He was driving the Blue Max at that time, with his body in the swimming pool at the Holiday Inn cleaning it.
In the swimming pool cleaning it?
With a big box of Tide soap.
Oh my God.
Guys were crazy. I'm telling you. And we ran around with them all summer. And we were gone for, I kept asking Andy about his wife. I said, you talked to Wilma? He said, Mama, you know, and he'd stutter around. Come to find out, he had never told her we were even going to Denver. Needless to say, when we got back, she didn't like me much. That's the end of his drag racing, as a matter of fact. Boy, she chopped him off at the knees, but, you know, he told me going back what was going to happen. I said, you are kidding me. And he said, no. I said, my God, Wilma will kill us. And she weighed about what I did. She was 4 times bigger than Andy. And my truck was over at her house, and I didn't want to go over there. I said, well, I'm just going to give her that truck. I ain't going back. And we split up the money, and
What an adventure that was.
and
What an adventure.
it was definitely interesting.
I bet it was.
Then I come back, in 70, I got hooked up with Gary. No, not till 71. In 70, I didn't really do much. 71, I hooked up with Gary. He was driving that Carl Casper car over at Phoenix when I first got in with him, and he won the AHRA Winter Nationals, which was the first Grand American. And this Casper was it was a Keith Black factory car. Do you remember that Young American thing they call it?
I don't recall it.
Real pretty car. And the next week, we went out to Orange County, and Gary took his car out there because they were going to try a bunch of new stuff, and they wasn't even qualified, but they were qualified number 16th in this Casper car. And Gary come and he said, he told the 2 guys that were helping him, he said, get mine out of the box and put it in line. We're going to go qualify this thing. Them guys they're trying new cams and new everything, and they ain't going to do it with me. I'm here to try to win this race. And so he put his car in the staging lanes, went up and qualified and bumped him out. The other car. Well, that was the end of his ride with Casper, naturally. But Gary won the race that night. And the following week at Long Beach, he won the second AHRA Grand American. And matter of fact, it was the first race with Garlitz with a rear engine car. And Garlitz tells people that he ran faster and quicker, but he was preoccupied because he'd got his foot blown off there the year before.
Yeah.
And he let Gary leave on him. Well, Gary left on him and ran faster and quicker. But that was about the last time anybody ran faster and quicker than that rear engine car, because he figured it out then.
Yeah.
He put a wing on it to start with. He didn't have one on a Pomona when he won the Winter Nationals in 71, but he did for the next, I think at Bakersfield's when he put it on. But we went all over back in there in 71, and after Indy, he came home, and I went to Oklahoma, I think. And he decided to run a rear engine car, and I didn't want nothing to do with the rear engine car. I thought they were ugly. And so I didn't go around him anymore. We had a little falling out about something. I can't remember what it was. But then in 72, I didn't do anything, just worked. In 73, I had met a lot of guys the year we were back there, and 2 of them was Dale Funk and Robert Frakes. And I got hooked up with them, and they were going to run a new car, and they had this guy, Bill English. He put up all the money, and so I went with them, and they matter of fact, that's where the Gator Nationals, the Summer Nationals trophy there come from, was with them guys. We won those races. And we ran 73, 4, and 5, and 6. And Indy in 76 was when we quit. We won the IHRA World Championship 2 years of the 4.
1957.
Yeah. Are we on?
We're on.
This is a Oscar from the 1957 Nationals, which naturally they didn't have Oscars in 1957. But I took Steve Gibbs the mobile trophy. Lefty always gave me that kind of stuff. I used to have hundreds of trophies. His son has the Bakersfield trophy still, but Lefty did it for money. Glory didn't mean nothing to him. And none of the rest of them wanted it. But NHRA has it now, and they're going to get it restored, and it's going to be in the museum, and they gave me this one as a replacement for it, you know.
'74 Top Fuel Eliminator, Summer Nationals.
Yep. We had, with a Kentucky Moonshiner, we were low qualifier. We were low in every round but one. And I would say we won that race. Everything went right that day, except on Saturday night or Friday night, we went in. Frakes wanted to ride the subways in New York City. We ended up in Harlem. But that was interesting. Racing with them guys was interesting. They were different people, I'm telling you. We used to take moonshine to every drag race. And naturally, we were the Kentucky Moonshiner, and we had to look the part. The only thing is that none of us drink that stuff. We were smarter than that. I did see Funk. Do you know Tarzan?
No.
John Austin. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Tarzan worked for Ivo for years. And one day at Ontario, trying to remember when it was, I think it was in '71, and they still ran their gas dragster. They had a twin-engine, gas dragster. And they had gotten beat. And a guy comes by and he says, "Have you seen Funk and Tarzan?" And I said, "No, they were around a while ago." He said, "No, I know where they're at." He said, "They're on the top bleacher peeing off on people." I said, "You're kidding me." And so I had to see that, so I walked around there, and there they were, cussing everybody because they're cussing them, you know. They'd been drinking that moonshine.
Oh, man. 75.
Gator Nationals.
Internationals. With who?
Well, Kentucky Moonshiner. Yep. We won that race, too. Wasn't no mystery that we won it. The races we won, we'd just go win them, you know. From start to finish, we'd win them.
What was the winning edge? What was the key?
Robert Frakes. Looks like a hillbilly, and he is a hillbilly. And he's only 55 years old, but he looks like he's about 70. He's the smartest man I ever knew. I believe he tops Herbert. We have changed the fuel mixture in the staging lanes as many as 5 times before. And he never owned any of that fancy stuff. He could have had anything he wanted. He's got all the money in the world, but he believed in just smelling the air and